From across time and space and throughout the multiverse, listen as multiple generations of geeks come together to discuss the iconic characters, events, and franchises that make up the very fabric of pop culture as we know it. Let Your Geek Side Show presents Then and Now. Hey guys, this is Kitty.
And this is Autumn.
And we are coming to you from the Sideshow Studios in Southern California. Are you ready, kids? This week we are diving into an undersea series that has been delighting audiences for 20 years, hitting major cultural milestones along the way. From humble beginnings on television to the big screen, and from the big screen to the stage, our porous yellow protagonist has been laughing and flipping burgers in Bikini Bottom, engaging multiple generations of viewers in his antics. With future films and spin-off series in development, and a Broadway revival broadcast on its way, it's clear that fans are still eager to soak up everything they can about the chipper sponge and his colorful companions under the sea. This is Spongebob Squarepants Then and Now. Alrighty, thank you for joining me once again, Autumn.
I know, 20 years.
20 years.
Sounds like a lot of...
No.
Oh, I set you up.
Okay.
Let's do it again.
Okay. Thank you for joining me, Autumn.
Thank you. I mean, 20 years, huh? Sounds like a lot of...
Hoopla!
Yes, nailed it. Go. First try.
All right, so we're going to do our best to resist the urge, the very, very strong urge to just quote SpongeBob memes nonstop for the next hour and a half.
We could easily do that.
Yeah, we could. We very easily could. We did it on the clock today. SpongeBob. The first thing that I even said to myself, I was like, why do I want to schedule us doing a SpongeBob podcast? But that little sucker has been around for 20 years now. Yeah. This is technically the 20th anniversary of SpongeBob, and they're calling it the best year ever.
Yeah.
And there's been a resurgence of SpongeBob stuff, but it's one of those things that even though it's resurging right now, it never really left. It hasn't gone anywhere.
No, it really hasn't.
And I think the most interesting thing, and we can get into it as you explained to me earlier, it was a show that it was enjoyed by not only just multiple generations. It's not like, oh, the kids now are just discovering it, and also the kids who grew up with it. It was watched by the kids when it debuted and their parents, and now adults were watching it as it was airing, even while kids were watching it. The first instance of SpongeBob debuting.
This is one of the first shows that I know that really is for every age. Mm-hmm. Like, honestly, every age would enjoy this show. And I can't think of a lot of shows that are truly like that, which I think was really interesting. I mean, I came at it as a parent. I have a 20-year-old son. Mm-hmm. And so I first was introduced to it when it was new and he was a baby and he discovered it as a toddler. And it has remained a staple of our household through their entire childhood.
Oh, my goodness.
And so now, like, my 4 kids are between 14 and 20, and there is not a day that goes by that SpongeBob lines aren't thrown around in our house.
They don't know a world without SpongeBob.
They do not. They do not. And this is a thing where when grandparents would come to visit, they would happily sit around and watch SpongeBob with the kids. No, it wasn't tedious. It wasn't something that you had to do. It was something that everyone just enjoyed.
Yeah.
So, and as a mom, having endless amounts of children's programming that I watched and listened to throughout the years, this is the only one that never became tedious.
Interesting.
It was always enjoyable.
Yeah. For me, it was one of those things that and of course, this is why we get the multiple generations in these chats. I grew up watching it as a child, and it debuted in July of 99. Right. And so I've been around for its whole
it's been a part of basically your entire life.
Yeah, and I did drop off of recent years. I mean, there was a point at which I either outgrew that or I wasn't watching it on the television anymore. But it's been something that I have engaged with not only through the memes, but like I was a big SpongeBob video game person, and one of my one of my favorite video games of all time was Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Yep.
And that was on the GameCube, and like GameCube was my favorite system, but that game is getting remastered right now for other platforms, and they debuted it at E3 this year, or they debuted like some of the remastered footage, and I'm probably going to play it again, even though I beat the first time.
That's so cool. I had no idea. That is so cool. I'm sure that'll make a resurgence back at my house again.
Yes, and it's a fun game, and I mean because it's the series SpongeBob hasn't gotten too big for his SquarePants. It's like it's still a very like they keep it in the family. It feels like one of those franchises where it's like they don't do everything just because they can. I know there's a lot of merchandising. I think SpongeBob is also one of the most like popular knockoff characters of like when you see like bootleg things.
Yes.
But like it has felt very true to its roots in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There were some instances in which like Steven Hillenburg, who unfortunately passed away last year, he was the original creator of the series. He did sign off as showrunner and depart the project for a number of years because it didn't end where he wanted it to. Nickelodeon said this has a staying power and we're going to keep airing it. And so he left in 2004 after the Spongebob Squarepants movie, which like that was also a big thing for an animated series at that time to then go to film.
Yeah. And then continue as an animated series.
Yeah. Because Nickelodeon had also had, this one always blew my mind, that Jimmy Neutron was a movie before it was a show. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the television show for Jimmy Neutron came from the movie, which I think was in theaters, but like Fairly Odd Parents had some movies, but they were still like series first, then movie is incidental. But like SpongeBob was a nationally like theater thing, and the movie gave us the Goofy Goober song, which
my gosh,
there was a phase.
Now That We're Men, and
now that we're men. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, I forgot about that one.
Oh, that movie has played on repeat.
David Hasselhoff,
writing David Hasselhoff as some kind of jet ski. I mean, it's magical.
It was genuinely funny. It's genuinely funny. And as all series that run long tend to do, there's the audience that is like, well, it's never better than the first couple seasons and stuff. But the fact that it's stuck around and they're still making it clearly means that it did something right. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. A lot of people do cite a decline in quality after Hillenburg departed, but he did come back to the project when I don't remember what the movie was. It was 2015. They did another film. I think I wrote it down here in my notes, which
they did do another film. I can't remember the name of it though.
Sponge Out of Water.
There it is.
And then there's another film coming up in 2020, which they're kind of extending their best year ever celebration into 2020. It's a Wonderful Sponge is the next one that's coming out.
Right.
You know.
I'm there. I'll watch it. Yeah. I'm into it.
Yeah. Now it is funny though, because as with any good children's series, it had a lot of detractors. SpongeBob has been involved in some controversies, which I like. We don't need to go into those. Right. But one of my favorite quotes is that an international diplomat stated that SpongeBob is a self-absorbed hooligan who regularly inflicts violence on others in his community and enjoys what he does. And that was like the condemnation of SpongeBob.
Okay, then.
Self-absorbed. Nice pun, whether or not that was intentional. But he's a hooligan who regularly inflicts violence on others.
That's interesting. I mean, that's a take. Mm-hmm. That is a take. My take was more that he is somebody who is relentlessly optimistic, joyful, and pure. He has no real bad intentions of any kind. And the only real villain of the show was just a lack of fun, somebody who had given up on fun. Mm-hmm. And those were the villains. And he battled those villains with his like unrelenting joy. Yeah. And defeated them with that. And so yes, he might have that take, but I don't think that's really the voice of the show.
I don't think so. And to compare it to, so SpongeBob is the 5th longest running animated American show. It's been 20 years. The Simpsons currently sits at number 1, and because they've been around for 29 years. SpongeBob was no worse than Bart Simpson.
No, not at all.
And is in terms of the type of violence that they depicted, and I mean, it's not even violence; it's cartoon.
The difference was intent as well. Yeah. Like Bart Simpson was intent on destruction and violence, whereas SpongeBob, that was kind of an offshoot of what he was doing, is unintended destruction and
like
violence.
Like the Rube Goldberg machine of unintended consequences.
Well, for instance, the boating lessons. What's the first thing you learn in boating school? What's the first thing you do when you get in a boat?
Lower it.
Correct. And chaos ensues.
Yeah. And
but there was never any sense of glee at the destruction that was being caused.
Yeah. He didn't say, I'm going to jack I'm going to get in the wheel of this boat and drive it through buildings on purpose. Right. It'd be like, oops, I hit all the cones and Mrs. Puff's going to have a panic attack.
Inflate.
Yeah. Then you got those characters like Mrs. Puff, who's just very jaded, and you've got Squidward, who like as you get older, you feel a little bit more sympathy for Squidward. Yes. And Mr. Krabs, who's concerned with running a business, and like there was a very rich society to Bikini Bottom and all the characters, and of course you've got like Bubble Buddy and like the guy Old Man Jenkins and the chocolate.
Yes. Oh gosh.
And the nematodes and Kevin the sea cucumber and stuff like that. But like there was, I mean, dare I say, an entire ecosystem that felt very recognizable, very consistent. Like it was very dependable. It is a very dependable universe. I should stop talking about it in past tense. But and I think a lot of that, even though it wasn't necessarily an educational show in terms of like it's not going to be didactic and teach you about marine biology, but Steven Hillenburg was a marine biologist and an animator. I mean, that's a damn cool resume. Like most people can't go, I'm an animator and also a marine biologist. And a lot of this stuff actually came from a comic that never really went anywhere, called The Intertidal Zone, that he had wanted to like use kiddie characters and teach people
marine biology.
Interesting. And SpongeBob was originally called SpongeBoy, but somebody had beat him to the punch on like
interesting
on copywriting SpongeBoy. So they just SpongeBob.
It goes with it.
Yeah.
Works. I think it's interesting because I had also made a little note about, the educational message, that the only real educational message was find the joy everywhere. Just be joyful and enjoy what life is. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's the real only educational message. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a hit with kids, is that it's not pandering. It's not trying to teach a lesson. It's just joyful. Mm-hmm. And it kind of depicts a child's version of a dream adult life. You work at your favorite place.
Yeah.
You live in a really cool, crazy house, and you hang out with your friends and have fun.
And you got a great little pet.
Yes.
And the town is dependable. And yeah, sure, you might not get your boating license on time, but yeah. And then and there I mean, there are values to understanding that. It's like that you can be happy. You can you can
find happiness.
Had a work ethic. Like that boy was crazy. And I mean, I love the episode where they actually do go on strike against the Krusty Krab.
Oh, yeah. The Krusty Krab Fun Fair. That sounds great.
But like, you've got Sandy Cheeks, who's an outsider, but like, and they have to learn to respect her for, first of all, her outside cultural traditions as a squirrel, but like, she's a smart character, and they don't take her seriously, but they actually really exemplify that in the Broadway musical. Like Sandy is really smart, but she's an outsider, and people don't know how to react around outsiders. And then you got Mr. Krabs, who like definitely adopted his daughter Pearl. Like I don't know if that was like
there's definitely a story there.
I'm not an expert in marine biology, but I don't think crabs make whales.
No, probably not.
But yeah, and then like even like respecting the natural ecology, like respect the jellyfish and stuff like the messages weren't like hammered into like this is what you need to take away. This is the lesson of the day,
right?
But there is a joy to Bikini Bottom and its surrounding environs.
Absolutely. I mean, I think
except not Rock Bottom.
Yes.
We don't go there.
No, we don't go there.
I can't understand what you're saying.
Your accent.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I love it.
We just got a head shake from super producer Sam. My bad. Probably shouldn't spit into the microphones. On that note though, Broadway musical. Who would have thought that this series would have come out from under the sea and into a critically acclaimed Broadway show? It has the national production has closed right now, but really exciting announcement that they made recently was that they were going to reunite pretty much all of the original Broadway cast. I think a couple of ensemble members weren't going to be making it back, but they're going to reunite and film a special broadcast that's going to debut on Nickelodeon. And that's a cable channel more or less.
That's amazing.
Like to broadcast the Broadway musical. And I don't know if it's going to be edited in any capacity.
Right.
It would be amazing if it's the whole show.
Right. If it's just this is the show.
But yeah, to make a because Broadway, then you think of like this is elite. This is it's very expensive. It's very situational. You have to be in the right place,
it's
right
so
time.
So produced and so meticulous.
Yeah. And it is a luxury that not everyone can afford. But if they like, this could be huge if they take the show and they broadcast it. I mean, the tour is well done with, so people can't like go see this show. So it's not taking away revenue, but making theater accessible.
Making Broadway to all this whole generation of all the multi-generations of fans that maybe wouldn't be exposed to Broadway. It's exciting.
I'm excited. And so that broadcast is expected in December 2019. So that'll be soon.
That's fantastic.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm gonna set a recording on the DVR to watch that.
My kids and I will be for sure watching that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll throw a party.
That's exciting.
SpongeBob Broadway. But like to take it seriously, like this sucker, the year it debuted, the 2018 Tonys was the year that like it could be nominated for stuff. It was tied for the most nominated musical, which in and of itself is not another nomination, but it was tied for the most nominated musical of the 2018 Tonys with Mean Girls.
Wow.
Which was another Broadway production that's like, I'm sorry, wait, what year is it that they made Mean Girls and SpongeBob?
And they were tied for the most nominations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For like actor, set, lighting, book, best original play.
I'm excited to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mean Girls.
Mean Girls, and Mean Girls. Hey, Tina Fey did the book for that one. She did a great job. Now, and then, if you look at the shows, the programming award history, it's not a surprise. In 20 years, it's gotten 6 Annie Awards, 8 Golden Reels, 4 Emmys, 16 Kids' Choice Awards, and 2 BAFTA Children's Awards. So this is a very
interesting,
awardable show, and it clearly it has done something for audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. It actually has an impact if it can keep transcending different formats and mediums. Yeah. It's interesting to see what else will come down.
Yeah, but ultimately it does stay very close to its roots with the animation and stuff.
Absolutely.
And sticking close to its roots, there is a spin-off series in development. It's technically a prequel. It's called Camp Coral, and it's going to be about a 10-year-old SpongeBob who goes to summer camp. And now it's interesting to say that like he's going to have his friends. They're going to be like younger as well. But
sounds Muppet Baby-esque.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how they handle that. Because in the lore of SpongeBob, Squidward's clearly older than him and Patrick. And like, when did Sandy first come to Bikini Bottom? And like, how are they going to handle that?
How is 10-year-old SpongeBob different than adult SpongeBob? Yeah, really, I would say probably not at all.
How do sponges age? Like, how are we doing that? But yeah, I think that'll be interesting. And that officially began development in June of this year. And so it's expected probably in the next year or two.
That's interesting. I mean, with another property, I might be more cynical of that. But I think, it's SpongeBob. We'll check it out.
Yeah, because I actually don't know of any like definitive origins for not necessarily that was like this is the thing everyone was calling for. We needed a definitive SpongeBob origin.
We need
story.
Our lore.
Yeah, but this is like no, there's a very definite point in the timeline that SpongeBob starts. Yeah, and they've never really traipsed backwards into that. So there's stuff there.
We started to go back into Patrick's history, but it turns out those weren't actually his parents.
Those were not his parents. Oh my goodness.
Oh, Patrick.
Oh my God. I love this show so much.
So much.
And then there's a new animated movie coming out, Wonderful Sponge, and that'll be next year, that people can look out for. But I think one of the biggest things about SpongeBob now and its staying power is the mimetic energy that it has. It has, apart from the quotes, because you've got this is advanced darkness and like I'm doing it at night and like hash slinging slasher and like the dolphin swear word and like just like all those memes that you can just, or those quotes that you can just
tap
quote
into quickly. Yeah.
There is a very visual meme medium going on right now, which I guess maybe when I was younger, like the memes of our moment were just the things you quoted constantly.
Right.
And like, one of my favorites is I don't know what episode it was, but SpongeBob and Patrick get in a fight. Mm-hmm. And Patrick says, I thought what we had was special. Yes. And so as a small child, I took that to heart. Oh, and I was like, this is a really cool, dramatic, like, because you learn and you're like,
this is a zing. Like, I'm really going to sock it to them with this.
Yeah. And so I got into a schoolyard tiff with one of my best buddies, and I think her name was Laura or something. And she was standing on the top of the like jungle gym, and I was at the bottom, and I was looking up at her, and I was real upset, and I yelled, I thought what we had was special, and I walked away. One of the daycare aides had to come to me afterwards and was like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? And I was like, I learned it from SpongeBob. Like, don't.
It's a meme.
But like nowadays in the internet, we've got caveman SpongeBob for like those moments when you're like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
You've got mocking SpongeBob, which everybody's
the sarcastic
SpongeBob with
this pointy lip,
oscillating. Doing my best impression behind the microphone. You've got the tired SpongeBob where he's like naked first of all, and he's like leaning up against a rock, and he's like, ooh. You got this is Patrick. That's one of the most enduring ones. And you've got the newest one is the I'm a head out where he's like getting up off his chair.
Yes.
And like but like there's a
whole language and culture. Absolutely.
And a lot of them do come from the first couple seasons when Hillenburg was creative director and showrunner.
Yeah.
But it like There are so many more I'm not even including. Like, it's bizarre.
It's endless. It's endless. Like I said, in our family, this is literally a daily part of our family's culture, is some kind of sponge. It's not just once. It's constantly, all the time. We throw out these little moments. And I've noticed, like, as my kids have gone through different phases, that once they got to preteen and then early teenage years, and now they're getting older, like, there are certain times as a parent where you kind of struggle to connect with your kids at different times, especially with, like, a son who's 13 and 14. It's very hard for a mom to, like, find common ground and find things to talk about.
Child.
Yes, exactly. But there's never a moment that a SpongeBob quote or a SpongeBob little moment that gets thrown out doesn't do the trick. That doesn't instantly, like, between them or me, back and forth either way, they started or I started, it's an instant connection, an instant bond, an instant shared nostalgia that has really, I mean, I don't know how unique our situation is and how grounded our family has been in SpongeBob, especially those first 3 to 5 years. But it's really been this really great connection with me and my, teenage children, that it's this instant nostalgia, this instant connection that we can all laugh and relate to. I've seen my kids cheer up their siblings with the SpongeBob comment and zing them with SpongeBob comments, and it's a really important part of our life.
That's just really sweet.
Yeah.
And I think that also leads into the, like, why we have these memes, because especially from the earlier seasons where multiple generations were watching and enjoying the content. It's not like, I got to sit through Baby Einstein's again or whatever it's called.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, you're triggering me.
I'm sorry. But it is like there's that shared vocabulary of knowing what the moment is referencing in the visual.
Yes.
and
I mean, if I have a socially uncomfortable 15-year-old and we're at Disneyland and he's feeling awkward because a bunch of people, and I can say, "Are you feeling it, Mr. Krabs?" And then he instantly laughs and smiles, like, okay, now he's relaxed and now he's comfortable, and it's amazing to me.
Yeah. And one of my other favorites is no, this is Patrick. Like, hey, is this what? No, this is Patrick. Or my name's not Rick. Or
we have a debate in our house as to which is the preferable
squeaky voice.
May I take your? Is it? May I take your hat, sir? Or may I take your order? The squeaky boots. And there's a debate in our house, and there's different factions.
My vote goes to may I take your hat, sir.
Yes.
That's because that was one of those episodes where I wholeheartedly identified with Squidward and the anxiety of telling your friends, like, just be chill for one moment in your life.
Please just keep it together.
Keep it together. Imagine him in his underwear. Oh no, he's hot. Like, that's another one. Or like canned bread. Like, but yeah, the like, for me, it's
yes.
For
me, it was the squeaky boots and the may I take your order?
Yes, I know that very well because my shoes, for some reason, the soles are very squeaky.
And I am ruthless.
In the office. I mean, we even trade SpongeBob quotes in the office.
Yeah. Every time I hear her shoe squeak, I will call her out with a may I take your order?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and some very smart marketing person over at Nickelodeon or wherever they are, they made a collectible series of SpongeBob meme statues or vinyl figures where it was like the specific moments that those memes were.
Gosh.
That's
brilliant.
Yeah. It's one of those things that it's amazing that it's enough of a shared vocabulary is what it is, and it elicits the same responses for different generations of people.
It's interesting because it kicks off this nostalgia, but I'm thinking back and like it kicked off nostalgia as you were watching it for the first time. Like the episode about the imagination box. For adults watching that, it's instant nostalgia for your own childhood, and for children, it's an instant connection to this is what life, this is what I do this.
Yeah.
And so it was already nostalgic when you first saw it, because this was your childhood, and if you're a child, they do these things. Yeah. So it's I've always thought it was a really unique. Obviously, I'm here talking about it, but I think it was a really unique, special show. And even some of the episodes, like there's some of the detractors say like he's annoying, he's grating, his laugh is obnoxious, and all that. And my response is always, okay, Squidward. But I mean, even if every episode isn't magic, it never ceases to be magical.
Yeah, I think it walks an incredibly unique line in that there's not necessarily the lessons to be learned, but there are there are lessons to be learned if you internalize and look at it, but it's because those shows that do teach, ooh, I whistled there, I'm sorry. Those shows that do teach like very strong morality lessons, they don't age as well because you're like, okay, this was a morality lesson for a certain age group
time
or
period or
cultural moment. But like, everyone can identify with the stress of taking a test or what I like writing an essay. What I learned in boating school is.
And the value of silliness is never going to go away.
Yeah.
And it's something everybody needs injected into their life.
Yeah. Happy Leif Erikson Day and all that good stuff. And I think the ultimate for me, I think we brought this up in the Pokemon podcast again. The ultimate, like, it can go to stage, it can go to a theater screen. The ultimate step out is there's actually a species of sponge fungus that was discovered, and it is named. It is officially taxonomically named as Spongiforma Squarepantsi.
I love it,
and I think that's something really cool.
What a great heritage for the creator.
Yeah,
for it to come back to that way.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's necessarily like specifically marine biological, but you have impacted the natural ecology of the world.
Yes.
Which that's just the best.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And so, clearly this is the best year ever for SpongeBob.
Yep. Sandy Cheeks would approve.
Sandy Cheeks would approve. And just through it all, they managed to get this very special language that reaches out and touches everyone. And I'm trying to think of like a fun quote that we can end it on, but I don't.
So many.
There's so many quotes.
So many.
Firmly grasp it.
Do exactly as I do.
We could do this for hours. We're not gonna go crazy, but
is mayonnaise an instrument?
Yes. No, Patrick. Mayonnaise. To the owner of the white sedan, you left your lights on. And I think just that perfect moment. The perfect joy of the series is completely captured in that moment where they play the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
The winner takes all. Like that is the ultimate joy to be had from SpongeBob.
100%.
Like the fact that a football stadium of human people would enjoy watching a little bikini bottom band pour their hearts into this thing.
Amazing.
And at the end of the day, that's it. That's all you got to do is be ready to dive right in. Are you ready, kids? And the answer,
Captain.
The answer is always yes. We're ready.
Yes.
Like any absorbent sponge, SpongeBob SquarePants has expanded beyond the original scope of the animated series. Over 20 years, the Fry Cook and his underwater friends have defined entertainment, introducing memes and cultural moments that still engage audiences today. The animated show is still airing, video games are getting remastered, prequel series are on their way, and the original Broadway cast of the SpongeBob SquarePants musical is reuniting for a special Nickelodeon broadcast thanks to the popularity of this character. While we may not know the secret formula for Krabby Patties, it's clear that the world of SpongeBob has the right ingredients to remain relevant and keep us laughing all these years. Thank you for joining us. This has been SpongeBob SquarePants Then and Now. Do you enjoy listening to Then and Now? We are proud to bring you pop culture content completely ad-free, but that doesn't mean we don't need your support to help keep us going. Please take a moment to leave a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting platform and help spread the word about our podcast. We welcome fan feedback. Email us at podcasts@sideshow.com with your thoughts and suggestions for how we can make our shows even better. Plus, tune in for our full network of pop culture podcasts. See if your fan favorites make the cut in the Geek Culture Countdown, a bi-weekly podcast featuring pop culture top 10 lists. Hear exclusive interviews with celebrities and pop culture industry leaders as they let their geek side show in Look Who Showed Up. Join comedian Jeff May and his special guests as they discuss anything and everything in Sideshow's Sideshow. Then get all the latest pop culture news with our daily briefing, a 2-minute breakdown of the biggest geek headlines perfect for your Alexa or Google News briefings. We wouldn't exist without your continued support. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to let your geek side show. I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna head out.